So today I'm going to go over the cross contours of our four basic forms, the sphere, cylinder, cube, and cone. The cross contours will be guidelines for your shading, for your directional line, for your hatching and your cross hatching, as well as parts of the shadow. So this is going to work as a guideline for future use. So I'm going to go ahead and do the cross contours in ink so you can see them really well, but for your sketchbook, maybe just do them in pencil. The contour of something is the outside shape, okay? The outside line or form of a shape. The contours of a sphere are circular. So wherever our highlight is, we're going to have concentric circles that follow the contours of the sphere.
So do I save the pocket and be a hoarder? Oh, I'm so sorry.
So the parts of the shadow are going to follow these contours, okay? Notice that it's a circle. Your directional line needs to be a circle. If you end up shading in straight lines like this over here, that's wrong. That is not correct, okay? Circular directional lines and cross contours, okay? Circular, circle, circle, circle. The contours of the shadow are going to be horizontal because it is on the surface of the table, and the cross contours will follow the opposite angle. The cross contours of a sphere are gonna curve like the sections of a beach ball. So they will follow the edges of that sphere. And then my core shadow is going to be in this section. I'm not going to label all the parts because it's going to get messy in our notes. But if you know where the core shadow is, then you know your reflected highlight is in between that and your cast shadow. And then you slowly transition to your highlight. So for the cylinder, now you know that the cylinder is a circle on top, but because of the angle that it is at to our eye, it becomes an oval or an ellipse, okay? If it's pointed directly at us, we see the circle. If it's directly flat, we see a flat line. The directional lines and contours of your cylinder are also going to follow the curve of your cylinder. My cylinder curves more at the bottom than it does at the top because the top part is closer to my eye line, so it stays a little straighter. So these lines should curve up at the sides, almost like kind of a barn silo. Now the cross contours of a cylinder are going to still remain vertical, okay, because the sides of that cylinder are still vertical. Directional line of the shadow is going to be horizontal because the table's horizontal, as well as vertical for the cross hatching. If my light source is over on this side, we're going to have the same light source on each of our forms, then my core shadow is going to be along this section. For the cube, now it is very important when you are drawing a cube to look realistically that these three lines are parallel, okay, meaning they go the same direction. Those three lines need to be parallel to each other. These three lines need to be parallel to each other as well as perfectly vertical, okay? There's no way that they're not going to be perfectly vertical. So straight vertical Don't angle it. And then these 3 lines should all be parallel. And that's how we get our cube. The directional line of our cube is going to follow the lines of the edges of each side. So we're going to create even more parallel lines on each surface. And then we're going to go ahead and draw them out the other way. You can connect your lines. Oh, kind of went off. That is a mistake, okay? That is not supposed to be there. That crooked one. And once again, the shadow is going to be hatching horizontally. And if you're cross hatching, you're going to put some verticals in there as well. Shadow. Okay, our last one. Oh, I forgot the core shadow over here. Now, if our light is here, then the darkest side is going to be here. And my reflected highlight is going to be on the bottom side of that. So my core shadow, or my darkest part of the subject, is actually going to be this kind of corner of this wall. Okay? For my cone, that's a little wonky on the side there. Okay. The bottom of my cone is curved because it is a circle on which that surface sits. So the contours, the directional line of my cone is also going to curve. And as it gets a little closer to the top, it's going to start flattening out as it gets closer to my eye line. And the cross contours are going to follow the angle of that cone. So your lines are going to get closer together up at the top here and then get farther apart as they spread out. So the shapes of our shadows are also going to be in those triangle shapes. Contours of the table are always horizontal. And my core shadow is going to be that section right here. So those are the cross contours of the 4 basic forms, and you can use these in your sketchbook to be guidelines for hatching and cross hatching, directional line, and our blended technique when we are working on our forms.